welcome. Tonight is a free class, so I imagine a lot of you are new and maybe have never been to the Demon before or a Demon live class. How many people, this is their first like live class in Zoom ever? Just raise your hand. Okay, cool. Welcome. We got Kevin and Abigail here, it looks like, to help in the chat. So they are super helpful, often more helpful than I am, as well as the rest of the Demon community. Everyone who's been here before, always seems like people jump in and answer questions too. So anyways, tonight we're going to be doing some logic games, right? So the test has 3 sections: games, logical reasoning, and reading comprehension. I would say that games is the section that most people struggle with at first, but it also ends up being the section that most people get 0 wrong on. They get it down to perfect. So I don't know. With that in mind, I'm happy to jump into these games. We're going to do 2 tonight. Maybe Kevin or Abigail, if you can share the syllabus with everybody to make sure they have it in front of them. Let's do that first game, test 79, game 2. I would suggest getting some scrap paper and a pen or pencil so that you can do this game like you would on the actual test. If you've, I'm curious, how many people have never done a game before? Anyone? Okay, so everyone, at least that I can see, I don't know if it's representative or not, but has done a game, so that's good. Anyways, I'll give you guys like 10 minutes to do this first game, and then I'll pull you back from that game, whether you're finished or not, and I will start doing it myself on this whiteboard, and you can ask me any questions as I go through it. Does anyone have any questions before we do that game? Okay, cool. Well, again, my name is Ben, and good luck. I will see you in about 10 minutes. Michelle, we're doing the first game. So that is test 79, game 2. Okay, so that was about 13 minutes. I gave you a little more time because it looks like most of us are not finished. Based on those of you who responded to the poll, which may be a little bit of a biased sample because you're also the ones who finished this game faster than others, probably. 20% of you thought it was easy and fun. Most of you thought it was not too bad, but another chunk of you, maybe almost half, thought, hey, this is a little bit of a challenging game. So this will be interesting to see. Based on what do you guys think? For those of you who have your cameras on, and by the way, it's really helpful when you guys turn them on because I can see how you're reacting to all this stuff. But what do you think? Was this fun or not so much? Okay, got some thumbs up. Well, that's good. Well, Jenny loves it. Well, that's great. Okay, so let's dive into this. 1 second. Okay. All right. So 6 park rangers, J, K, L, M, O, and P. I'm going to write that down. Are each to be assigned to monitor one of 3 areas: Area 1, Area 2, Area 3, in a national park. Okay. So because I'm dealing with 6 people and 3 areas, and each one is going to be assigned to monitor one of the 3 areas. Right now, already I have a disconnect between the number of people I'm dealing with and the number of areas, right? 3 areas, 6 people. So already I'm anticipating that I'm going to have to group these people into these areas, right? So I'm kind of anticipating that this is going to be what I would call a grouping game. Not that that terminology matters, but it's a game in which I'm going to have to group people together, probably. That says at least 1 ranger, but no more than 3 is assigned to each area. Okay, so that kind of confirms what I was thinking. We have these 3 areas, 1, 2, 3. I have to, right, those are my 3 areas. Can you guys all see that clearly enough? Okay. And this is kind of important. There is going to be at least 1 ranger in each of these areas, but no more than 3. So I'm just going to signal that by saying, okay, I can have 2 more people in this group, but I'm using a dotted line to signal to myself that this is a maximum, but not required, right? I don't have to have anyone in these slots, but I do have to have someone in this slot. And that's true for all 3 groups. Those 3 dots are a little annoying. You don't necessarily have to do that, but it's just clear to me now that I have to have 1 in each group and potentially 2 more. That's it, though. Okay. Anyways, neither O, let's see. Oh, no. First rule. M is assigned to area 3. Well, that's great. Okay. I hope no one messed that one up. If you did, that is a great place to start. You can just put M right there. Then it says neither O nor P is assigned to area 1. So technically this is a negative rule. It says O can't go here and P can't go there. It's totally fine to write that in the negative. That said, I actually prefer, or if it's easy enough, I tend to prefer to turn negative rules such as these into positive rules. So if O and P can't be in 1, what that's really saying is that O has to be in 2 or 3 and P has to be in 2 or 3. Now, there's nothing wrong with writing negative rules, and I've done it a million times. It's just that I find I tend to think a little bit faster when I am focusing on what is happening as opposed to what's not happening. Okay, so I'm actually going to write this rule as O going back and forth here because it's going to be in one of those 2 groups. That arc shows that O is in 2 or in 3, and then P is in 2 or 3. Now, if you use a pencil, which you're allowed to do, you can actually erase. You don't have to erase that, but I'm just going to get rid of it because the less clutter I have to look at, the easier it's going to be for me to digest this information. Okay. L is assigned to the same area as either K or M, but not assigned to the same area as both. Okay, so L has to be, let's see here. L has to be with M, or L has to be with K, but it can't be with both, which basically means K and M are never going to be together. You guys cool with that? So I'm just going to remind myself by writing KM like this. Because we know M is in 3, we now know that K can't be in 3, right? Because K and M can never be together. Otherwise, L wouldn't have a place to go. And so I'm going to put K bouncing back and forth between areas 1 and 2. Okay, anyone angry yet? Okay, good. It's a pretty easy statement, right? You're like, no one's angry yet. Maybe you're like mildly frustrated. But anyways, this is what we got. Now, last rule. What is the last rule? Okay, if O is assigned to area 2, then Jefferson is assigned to the same area as K. Okay, so if O ends up in this middle column, J and K have to be together. I'm just going to write this down here. If O is in 2, then J and K, well, okay. If O's in 2, then J and K are together. Fair enough. Otherwise, and otherwise, by the way, is going to be referring back to the if clause. So if O is in 2, the otherwise is if O is not in 2. If O is not in 2, then these two have to be separated. So if O is not in 2, then you can't have JK. I absolutely hate this. I'm drawing it just so we can get our minds wrapped around it, but this is not how I want to end my day. I generally hate if-then statements anyways, because if-then statements can be converted. Usually you can get rid of them through what we call worlds. Worlds are where we just create scenarios where maybe O is in 2 and a scenario where O is not in 2. And now we never have to think about these if-then statements again, because we've actually created the 2 situations, one which O is in 2 and one which O is not in 2. So since we got through all the rules, let's actually do that. Okay, I'm gonna start with this because I really want to get rid of this. I'm gonna create 2 worlds. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Notice I'm not doing the slots below areas below the first slot because they're not required. I know I can't have more than 3 people in a group, but just to move quickly, I'm going to do area 1, 2, 3, area 1, 2, 3. And then if I need more people in an area, I'll put people below those slots. You guys cool with that? Is this for speed and simplicity? But in one case, O was in 2. And in the other case, O is not in 2. O not being in 2 actually means it has to be in 3 because remember, O is in 2 or 3. So I'm going to go ahead and put M is always in 3. M is always in 3. But these are my 2 worlds. Okay, so if O is in 2, then I know J and K are together. So over here, J and K are together. And if O is in 3, then I know J and K are not together. Are you guys okay with that? Those are the only 2 possibilities. Either O is in 2 or O is not in 2. And when O is in 2, this is what happens. And when O is not in 2, this is what happens. Okay. So now I can actually get rid of this and I don't have to think about this ever again. Now you could just ignore it on your paper, but I'm trying to move away from if-then statements and just focus on what actually happens. Okay, now let's take a look at these for a half second because I actually want to get rid of more of these rules. In this world, right? So let's split this up. in this world, I have J and K together, and I do know something about K, right? I know K has to be in area 1 or 2. You guys okay with that? And so I could split this world into 2 worlds. One where JK is together in 1, or one where JK is together in 2. You guys comfortable with that? Those are my only 2 possibilities. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
My question is, why can't O be in 1? So if it's not in 2 and it's not, and it can be in 3, why can't it be in 1?
That's just the second rule. It said neither O nor P is assigned to area 1. And so I just can't put it in 1 for that rule.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Okay. So this okay, in this diagram, either JK goes here or JK goes here. I haven't done anything with this world. I'm ignoring it for now. I'm just taking this world and I'm splitting it into 2 because there's only 2 possibilities. Okay. Now over here, these are getting pretty close, so I'm just going to keep going. I think I'm going to focus on L, right? Because we know L has to be with M or K. It can't be with both. It's not going to be with both in either of these worlds, so we don't have to worry about that. But L cannot go with K here because this group is now full, right? So L is going to have to go with M. Are you guys comfortable with that? And at this point, there's only 6 variables in this game, which means there's only one more person. That person is P. Does anyone know where P is going to go? Okay. I see some of us voting for area 1, but P can't actually go in area 1. So we have a problem here. We need to put someone in that slot. That would have to be P because P is the only person left, but P can't go in area 1, right? So actually, this world doesn't work. So this world is gone. I would cross it out on my actual test to conserve whiteboard space. I'm going to erase it, but this never happens. And actually, I mean, I don't know if you're totally new to the daemon, you may be sitting there going, well, you just spent all this work creating this world and now you just got rid of it. What a waste of time. It's actually, when worlds die, that's a world dying. It's the best news ever because it means I have fewer things that I even have to think about, right? Now I know in this world, when O is in 2, JK has to go there. End of story. I don't have to think about anything else. It reduces complexity, actually. So I'm still dealing with this world, though. L has to be with M. L has to be with or K. So really, L is going back and forth here. It's either in area 1 or area 3. And then P is still left. P can only go in 2 or 3. So I'm just going to put P going back and forth between 2 and 3. All right. Are you guys okay with that? All right. Let's go back to this world. I haven't really dealt with this one. All I know is that J and K can't be together. Who should I focus on? Well, in this world, I focused on K because K could only be in 1 or 2, and K and J had to be together. Because K and J had to be together over here, knowing where K was is very helpful, or it was very helpful because then I knew where J had to go. Here, knowing where K goes is a little bit helpful because it tells me that J can't go there, but just knowing that J can't go there doesn't necessarily tell me where J is, because like if K is here, then J might end up here or it might end up over here. I don't know. At least I can't tell right away. So focusing on K isn't as helpful over here. So I think what I'm going to do, I mean, you can do it. You can do it on the basis of K, but I think I'm going to focus on L again. L seems kind of helpful in the sense that if L is with M, then it's in this group and that group gets filled up. And whenever a group gets filled up, it severely limits the game, right? Because now nothing else can go there. And so you have fewer options for the remaining variables. Also, when L doesn't go with M, I now know it has to go with K, which is also constraining because now I have a block LK. So you can create worlds on the basis of anything, but I guess I'm just trying to explain why I'm preferring L over K, because it seems like it's going to lead to more information faster. Okay, so I'm going to create two worlds, one where L is in 3 with M. That's one possibility. The other possibility is L is with K, right? I have to remember that J and K can't go together, but I'm going to move that out of the way. J, K. So in another world, 1, 2, 3, I have M, I have O, and now I have L and K together. I actually don't know where they go, but I'm going to say LK. Well, heck, I'm just going to create a third world. Okay, I hope that wasn't confusing. That's often how it goes on the test. It goes pretty quickly. But I created one world where L was with M, and then I created another world where L was with K. And when L is with K, there's only two possibilities. It's either in area 1 or it's in area 2. You guys okay with that? So I just instantly split that into two options as well. So now I have MO is still here, MO is still here, but either LK is in 1 or LK is in 2. Okay, in all of these scenarios, P has to be in 2 or 3, right? And that's the easiest in this world because P can't go in 3, so P has to go in 2, right? Also, J and K are left. They can't be together. There's only 2 groups, so they have to be split. I don't know who goes where, but I can actually... Sorry, just for cleanliness, I'm going to put P down below. P goes here, and J and K are going back and forth there, right? Because they have to be separated, but I don't know where they go. You guys okay with that? Okay. Now, here, again, I have P. P has to go in one of these 2 places, and J has to go in one of these 2 places. So I know that P or J, at least one of them has to go in group 2. I know one of them has to go there. And then the other one, this is, how do I symbol this? You know what? I'm going to get rid of this. Sorry for, I just want to be really clear here. I know one of them has to go there, but the point is that P is going back and forth here. P is stuck in these 2. And then J can really go anywhere depending on P. So I'm going to actually label J as a floater. But if P moves over here, then I'm going to have to put J there because it's an empty slot that needs to be filled. But if P comes here and fills it, then J can go anywhere.
Well,
And
J can't go in 1, right? Because we're still like with the JK cannot go together.
Oh, that's absolutely right. I can't believe I forgot about that. So J is also stuck over here. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. So J is stuck over here, which means I could have left it. Yeah, well, this works. But bottom line, P is going back and forth here. J is going back and forth here. I know I have to fill one of those, and I could put that back what I put, which is P or J. Okay, excellent, excellent. Here, I still have P.
I have a quick question regarding the
Yeah, go ahead.
So sometimes when I create worlds, I like symbol it exactly how you just did, but I forget that technically putting them like that means that they could go into together correctly, right? Isn't that a correct thought technically?
Yeah, they can go together. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Okay, and is there a way that you symbol that in particular to help
actually so this is I'm doing it like this as 2 separate arcs.
Okay.
to show that they could go together. If in some games, P and J are going back and forth, but they can't go together, that's actually symbolized by one arc like I did here.
Okay,
Because if J goes here, then K has to flip over with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so in this last world, P is going back and forth in 2 or 3. I don't know where it goes. That means something has to go here. The only thing left is J, so that's that world. Okay, one thing about worlds, I know it takes a little while to explain because I don't want anyone to get lost while we're making these splits. But as you get more comfortable with them, they will go faster. That said, they tend to take longer than just drawing out the rules. Like we drew out the rules and then we were ready to go into the questions on some level, right? But don't let the fact that this took more time dissuade you from trying to do worlds. Because the thing about worlds is once you're done with them, they tend to be, it tends to be way faster to read these than to read these. So let's take a look as we go through this game. We can try to see if that's how it feels. But question 6, it says, which one of the following is a permissible assignment of rangers to park areas? This is a very common first question. It's just like, hey, here's 5 scenarios. Which one, which one works? And I actually, whether I do rules or worlds, I still just end up going back to the original rules because you can eliminate answers very quickly. So for example, M is assigned to area 3. Well, that's going to get rid of answer choice D, right? Because there's no M in 3. Neither O nor P is assigned to area 1. Okay, that's going to get rid of C because P is in 1. The third rule says L is with K or M, but not both. So L has to be with K or M. That's a problem in A, so A is out. L is with K in both answers B and E, which are left. The last rule says if O is in 2, then J and K have to be together. That is fine in answer choice E. That is not fine in answer choice B. So now I'm left with answer choice E. That's got to be the answer. Okay, so for that first question, even though we did all this work, I tend to just use process of elimination. For question 7, if O is the sole ranger assigned to area 2, then which one of the following could be the complete assignment of rangers to area 3? Okay, so this is telling me 2 things. 1, O is in 2, and by the way, it's by itself. So let me do some numbering here. This is world 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if O is in area 2 and by itself, what worlds are we looking at? Oh, actually, this is easier than I thought. It's only this one. Are you guys cool with that? It's only world 1. Okay, so I know I'm in this world, and then the question says, what could be a complete assignment of rangers to area 3? Well, I know it has to have M. It could have P, or it could have L, or it could have both. So as I look at these answers, they all have M, which is not surprising. L, M. Let's see, which one of them could be complete assignment 3? L and M. That actually looks possible. And M and P also look possible. What the heck am I missing here? Looks like
L can't, P, sorry, P has to be moved because
absolutely. Yeah, I'm not even paying attention to what I'm talking about. Okay, so O is I even said it has 2 things. Okay, so O is by itself, which means P has to go over here. So if M and P definitely have to be part of the answer. L could be part of the answer. They don't give us that option. They just give us L without P, so that's not good. So it's going to be between B and C. It's definitely got to be C. Cool, thank you. Okay, next one. If exactly 1 ranger is assigned to area 1, then which one of the following must be true? Okay, if I only have 1 ranger in area 1, I can't be in world 1 because that's got 2. I could be in 3, I could be in 2, but I can't be in 4. So I'm looking at worlds 2 and 3. In both, let's see here. If only one is assigned to area one, what is true about both of these worlds? Well, both of these worlds have MO in 3. So I could start there. Which one of the following must be true? Does J have to be assigned to area one? Yes, here, but no here because J and K are going back and forth. K is assigned to area 2. Yes, here, but not necessarily here because J and K are going back and forth. L is in 3. Yes, here, but not here. O is in 3. That's true here, and that's true there. So because that's true in both of our worlds, that's got to always be true under this condition. So answer choice D is correct. Just really quick, let me look at E. P is assigned to area 2. Yes. No, not necessarily because P is going back and forth. Okay, let's go to the next one. Question 9. Which one of the following rangers cannot be assigned to area 3? Okay, well, I know M, O, L, and PJ, all of those folks can go to 3. The only one left is K, which we actually already figured out. K can only go to 1 or 2. So the answer is D. Okay, let's go to question 10. If K is assigned to area 2, then which one of the following could be true? Okay, K can't be in 2 here. K is in 2 here. Could be here. Can't be here. So again, I'm looking at worlds 2 and 3. Which one of the following could be true? Could J be in 2? No. No. In both cases, J would have to be in 1 because K is in 2. B, J is in 3. No way. It's in 1. L is in 1. No. No. O is in 2. No. No. Okay, it's got to be E. P is in, oh, shoot. Sorry, 1 second. My crazy desk. P is assigned to area 3. Yes, that could be true. Doesn't have to be true, but it certainly could be true. So that's the answer. Okay, sound good? Well, let's go to 11. If L and O are assigned to the same area, then which one of the following could be true? If L and O are together, I'm not looking at this world because L and O are separated. L and O are together, separate, separate. So this is the only world in which L and O can be together. Which one of the following could be true? Could J be in 3? No. Could K be in 2? Yes, it could be. So that's the answer. C, just a quick check. L is in 1. No. O is in 2. No. P is in 3. No. So answer B is correct for question 11. All right, question 12. If J is assigned to area 2, then which one of the following must be true? If J is in 2, no, no, yes, yes. So if J is in 2, I'm looking at worlds 3 and 4. What must be true? Well, in both of these worlds, O is in 3, and actually K is in 1, because if J is in 2, then K has to come to 1. And that's answer A, actually. K is in 1. So that is true here. That's also true here. So that's probably the answer. That is the answer, but let me just check the rest. L is in 1. No, does not have to be true. O is in 2. Does not have to be true. It's actually in 3. P is in 2. Could be true. It is true here, but it doesn't have to be true here. P could come over to 3. Finally, P is in area 3. Again, could be true here, but doesn't have to be true there or here. Really doesn't have to be true anywhere. So the answer is A. All right. Questions on that game? I don't know how you felt, but when I have the worlds, I feel like I'm not diagramming anything. I'm just looking back at them and like yes or no, right? That's all it is. So that's why, even though they take longer to set up, I tend to prefer them because you can go pretty quick through the questions. All right, if no one has any other questions on this game, let's go ahead and do the next one. I'll give you 10 minutes again, and we'll go from there. Okay, guys. Looks like most of us thought it took me a bit, but you got there. So doable, but a little bit challenging. Let's jump in. So this game says during the week-long grand opening of a new antique shop. Wow, how exciting. An antique shop is opening. The antique dealer will auction exactly one antique per day for 6 consecutive days. Again, strange, but June 1st through 6th. Definitely sounds like an ordering game, right? We have exactly one antique per day for 6 days. And then we're told that the antiques are H, L, M, S, T, V. Okay, I got that right. So I'm gonna go ahead and put 6 slots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here are my 6 days. The sundial is not auctioned on June 1st. Okay. You know, it would have been more fun if they had done this game like what May is May. Oh shoot, now I can't remember. Does May have 31 days or 30? But they should have done it from like the end of May, right, to June 5th. That would have been more fun. But anyways, the next rule says if H is auctioned on an earlier date than the lamp, then the mirror is also auctioned on an earlier date than the lamp. Okay, this is an if-then rule. We could write it out as an if-then statement. I've definitely done that before, but like we kind of did in the last game, if we can get rid of these, they just get easier to deal with because if-then statements tend to create headaches. There are only 2 options here. Either the harmonica is auctioned on an earlier date than the lamp, or it's not. So either H is before L, or it's not before L, which means in this game, it's after L, right? So L, H. Everyone cool with that? Okay. Then it says if H is earlier than L, then the mirror is also earlier than L. So in this scenario, M comes before L. In this scenario, the rule doesn't apply. We don't know anything about that scenario other than L comes before H. Okay, so that's my 2 worlds so far. The sundial is auctioned on an earlier date than the mirror and also on an earlier date than the vase. Okay, so the sundial comes before the mirror. It also comes before the vase. Are you guys okay with this web? If this is new to you, I promise you it will become more natural over time. But what this says is that S has to come before M and V, which must also come before L, because S has to come before M, M comes before L, so S has to come before all 3 of these things. Does S have to come before H? Okay, I see some of you shaking your head no. That is correct. H could come anywhere before S or after. It just has to come before L. That's the only requirement. Okay, I know that can get a little tricky to read, but it will be something you will get comfortable with as you do more of these. Okay, in this S, wait, someone is saying S does not have to come before L, but it does in this world. Over here, I don't know anything about S and L's relationship. So if I'm misunderstanding your comment, please yell at me. But we still have to put this rule into the second world. So S is earlier than M and also earlier than V. So S is earlier than M, it's also earlier than V. Okay, so I have my 2 worlds. That's it. All right, last rule. The table is auctioned on an earlier date than the harmonica or on an earlier date than the vase, but not both. So that's critical. It's got to come before one or the other, but it can't come before both of them, which means if it's coming before one, then that means it's coming after the other. An easier way to think about this is T has to be in between H and V. Okay, so I'm going to just write this rule over here. T is between H and V. So either V is before T and then H is after it, or H is before T and V is after it. Questions about that rule? I know it can be a little bit confusing. Okay. All right. Now, remember I have two worlds. I'm going to say this is world 1. This is world 2. I'm going to incorporate, I can put an or here just to clarify. It's either this or this. I got to incorporate that into here. Let's think about this for a minute. Well, this is a little bit of a mess. H and V are separated. I know T has to come between them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 of our variables here, actually. So T is the only variable left. And I'm remembering that S can't be first, right? So S comes before a lot of things here, but it can't be first, which actually means the only thing that can be first here is H. Are you guys cool with that? Because everything has to come after S except H. So H can come before, and something has to come before. And T is now stuck in between H and V. So T can't be first. So the only one who can be first is H. So in world 1, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. H is first. Now, by putting H first, I actually simplify world 1 because I have this diagram here, right? And it's got all these parts, but I don't need this in my diagram anymore because all it says is that H comes before L. But if H is first, it's always going to be before L, right? So I can actually erase this. And now we have a little bit easier of a diagram to deal with, right? And I know H is first. So between these two options, I have to be dealing with this option, right? So this is HTV. I don't need to worry about the H. So it's TV. So that means T comes before V. Okay, anyone upset with world 1? Okay, that's world 1. World 2, I have to do the same thing. I have to figure out what to do about this HV thing. I have TVH or VTH and then HTV. Oh, actually, we kind of have the same situation here. S can't be first, right? So S isn't first, M and V aren't first, H isn't first, T isn't first. So the only one who can be first is L here, okay? So in this world, I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. L goes first, right? And now because L goes first, I can actually get rid of this rule right here because yeah, L is going to be before H. It's going to be before everything. So the only rule I have to think about right now is S comes before MV and these two options. So I'm actually going to take these two and split them. So one option is V T H. That's one option. Another option is you have SMV, but now TH comes after it. So I really have world 2A and 2B. Are you guys cool with that? In both cases, in world 2, L is first. What I did is I just split this world on the basis of these two options. There's only two options. Okay. Let's go through these. Question 12. Which of the following could be an accurate list of the 6 antiques in the order in which they are auctioned from first to sixth? Well, I'm just going to go back to the original rules and eliminate. So let's see here. S can't be first. That's going to get rid of D. If H is auctioned on an earlier date than L, then M has to be before L as well. So basically H and M, if H is before L, M is as well. H before L, that's in A, but M isn't before L, so that's a problem. So A is out. The S is auctioned earlier than M and earlier than V. So S has to come before M and V. That's fine in B. That's fine in C. S, M, V. Oh, that's a problem in E. V came before S. Can't do that. So last rule, T is in the middle of H and V. That is a problem in B because T is at the very end. So the answer is C. Okay, just process of elimination there. Next question, 13. Which one of the following could be true? Okay. Oh, T is auctioned on the second and L is auctioned on the third. That's a lot to keep in my head. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to say T2, L3. So can I do T2, L3? I can do T2 here, but I can't fit L here. I can't do TL because there's S and M have to come before L. I can't do L3 here because L is first. So this is not possible in either one of my worlds. Okay, the answer choice B says S2, V3. Okay, S2, V3 is not going to work here because I have this T, but could I do S2, V3? Yeah, no problem. I'll just take these two, I'll put them right here, put everything else after S and V. So that looks like a viable answer. I'd pick that and I'd probably move on. We can check the rest really quick though. M3, S4, M3, S4, no way. S can't come after M, so that's never gonna work. V4, S5, V4, S5. Again, V can never come after, before S. So that's bad. E, S4, T5, S4, T5. Well, that's not going to work here because something has to come in between. S4, T5. That's not going to work because we'd have too much stuff in 6. S4, T5. Again, too much stuff is going to come after it and try to squeeze into 6. So that's not going to work. So the answer is definitely B. Okay, next question, 14. If the table is auctioned on a date that is later than both the date on which the mirror is auctioned and the date on which the vase is auctioned, boy, these are so wordy. So basically, if T comes after M and V, which one of the following could be true? If T comes after M and V, I'm not here. I could be here. T comes out, can't be here. So I'm only in this world. T comes after M and V. What do I know must be true? Or yeah, could be true. Could H be earlier than T? No, it has to be after. Could T be earlier than L? No, because L is first. Could T be earlier than S? No, it has to come after S. Could M be earlier than V? Yeah, actually M and V can be interchanged, so that looks good. E, S is earlier than L. No, L is first. So D is the only answer that could work. Okay. Question 15. Which one of the following cannot be the antique auctioned on the day immediately preceding the day on which the V is auctioned? Okay, so who can't come immediately before V? Well, let's take a look. Could H come immediately before V? Not here, because if I have H, I gotta have some things before I have V. Not here, because H, T, V. Oh, that's never gonna happen, because T is always in between them. Okay, so that's the answer, actually. We could go through the rest really quickly. Could L ever be immediately before V? Not here, but it looks like it could be here. Could M be immediately before V? Yes, yes, we just saw that. S immediately before V? Yes, right here. And then T immediately before V? Yeah, obviously right here or right here. So the answer is A. 16, which one of the following could be true? Okay, could M be on 2? No, something's got to come before M, so it can't fit there and it can't fit there. Could L be on 2? No, and no, because it's not going to fit in 2 there. Could V be on 2? No, because something's got to come before here. No, because something's got to come before there. L is on 3? No, because something comes before, too many things come before L, so I can't fit it on 3. M is on 5. Well, M could be on 5 here, it could be on 5 here, and it could be on 5 here. Not that it needs to be on 5 in all of them, but it could be on 5 in any of these. So that's definitely the answer. Last question, which one of the following could be true? S is on 5. Not here because it has 2 things that come after it. Not here because it has 2 things that come after it. Not here because it's got 4 things that come after it. So it can't be in 5, which is the second to last slot. B, the S is on 4. Actually, it looks like it could be here. Because if S is on 4, you only have 2 things that have to come after it. So we could do S, MV, and then put HT here. So that is correct. I'll just check the rest really quick. L is on 5 and M is on 6. Well, L on 5 is not happening here, and M is not coming after it here. So that doesn't work. T3L4. T3. We could do T3 here, but then L could not, could it be 4? No, we wouldn't have enough room for this stuff right here. So that's not going to work. It's definitely not going to work there. The last one, H2, V3. H2, not here. H2, V3, not going to work because H and V are next to each other and they need T in between. All right, cool. Questions on this game? Questions on games in general?
Hey, Ben, how are you?
Good. Yourself?
I'm all right, thanks. I've managed to, let's say, for instance, almost complete all 4 games. I'm doing well with the 3 that I'm facing. Any advice for someone who's just having trouble with, just completing an entire section? The accuracy's there, but it's just the timing.
Yeah, I would get comfortable. Are you doing worlds and not worlds? Can you do both?
Yes. I'm doing both.
I mean, that's good. The ability to do a game with worlds and without worlds, and sometimes worlds based on different things, really just expands your flexibility.
Correct.
So that you're more likely, part of this is probability, so that you're more likely to select the best approach, or I mean, not the the
tools
one
for
of
the job, so to
better
speak.
approaches for that game.
Okay.
Right? Like every time you do a game, if you feel like it took you a little longer than maybe it could have, try it again, but do it without worlds, or try it again, but do it with worlds on the basis of something else. At the very least, you're just getting more and more comfortable with different ways of seeing how rules might unfold in worlds. Right.
Just one more. Should I just rely on the algorithm, or just the daemon itself to make sure that I'm able to perform better, or should I just continue on just trying to attack sections?
I would actually do both. I mean, you want to experience, the time sections to get used to ignoring the timer and all that stuff. But you can also get more practice with level 5 games if you're doing drilling. Okay. So I would go back and forth. What I'm thinking about is when you finish a game, just like in the review state, do it again a different way.
Do it.
whether
Okay.
you got there through drilling or through a time section.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, cool. Any other questions on games? Alrighty. Any other questions, period, about whatever? I'm happy to go over anything.
I find myself struggling with RC, and I wanted to know, do you have any advice on how to tackle it to try to get better?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the number one thing you want to focus on when you're working on reading comp and logical reasoning, well, really the whole test, but is just making sure you understand exactly what you're reading. That reading comprehension is literally testing your ability to comprehend what you read. So most people, when they start out, they spend 2 minutes reading the passage and then 10 minutes answering the questions. But you really want to get to a point where you're I mean, it's different for everybody, but for me, I'm spending roughly 4 to 5 minutes reading the passage and 3 to 5 minutes answering the questions. So, and where does that come from? That comes from the fact that I'm like slowing down, I'm rereading sentences that don't make sense. I am thinking about what the person is saying, then moving on to the next sentence. So it takes me longer, but then when I'm going through the questions, they tend to be easier because it's like, I totally get what this person just said. There's only 15 sentences in these passages. So you really only have to own 15 sentences, even if it seems like a lot, you know? Cool. Question here. Can you go over a quick conditional rule? Sure. What do you mean by that?
Hi.
Hey.
So what I mean by that is I'll get through game 1 and 2 and I'll be like, dee dee dee. Then I'll get to game 3 or 4 where the rules start to get a little more lengthy. And it's like, if J in 2, then, you know, this is just an example. If J in 2, then why not in K? So I'm like, okay. So then I write it out. And then during the game, I'm like, oh shit, but can K, it's the trigger thing. Does that make sense? So like, I want to simplify that conditional rule so that when I'm going into the game, I'm like confident when I look at my rules, like my little cards, the way that I write it out, so that I'm not second guessing myself going, oh geez, if I do the flip and contrapositive, because the thing is that I don't want to worry about the contrapositive thing anymore. Like I zero in on that too much and it's like too distracting and it just really like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, so it's exactly what we were doing tonight. Every time you see an if-then statement, focus on the if clause only, and then create 2 worlds, one where the if clause is true and one where it is false. So in your example that you just gave me, it was something like if J is second or something like that, right? Then something happens.
Yeah.
So I would immediately, like, let's say there's 6 slots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'd create a world where J is second.
Okay.
And then I'd create a world where J is not second. And in the world where J is second, I would do whatever the rule told me,
Okay.
right? Like if it's K and L are last, then I'll put them there or whatever it was. I don't know what it was. And in this world, nothing happens because it just, J isn't second. So I don't know. That's it. And then you're done. You don't have to think about if then anymore. There's either this scenario or there's this scenario. That's it. K and L don't have anything to do. I mean, they're going to exist here, but you don't have to think about them in terms of that rule anymore. The cool thing about worlds is once you've done it to a rule, that rule is gone. You don't ever have to think about it again.
Sure. So in terms of building a world based on multiple conditional rules, when you're starting to build a world and you're like, oh gosh, but I have like 4 conditional rules, and you're like, which one do I pick that will be like the most powerful, so that you're not like drawing 50
Yeah.
worlds.
Sure.
done.
Well, so I wouldn't worry about it until I wouldn't think much about it. I would just grab the first rule and split it.
Okay.
But as you start to get more and more comfortable with splitting and then splitting again, because you'll split some of those worlds into subworlds, you can look at the if-then statements and see if there's a letter that appears in all of them, right? Or if there's maybe a letter that appears in 2 of the 3 if-then statements. We're like, okay, well, that letter is pretty popular. So if I create a split on the basis of that letter, which happens to be in this rule and this other one, then that ought to help once you get to the next if-then statement.
Okay.
But you really want to think about them one at a time. Otherwise, it gets too confusing. It's just, I can't do it. I don't know that anyone can. It's just like, okay, well, let me split, create these 2 worlds, and then I can deal with each of these worlds in turn as I bring in the new rules one at a time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Cool. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Go for it.
So I'm practicing a lot more with worlds and I am getting better, but I keep finding myself in situations where I'm starting making worlds and all of a sudden I'm like knee deep in the rabbit hole. It turns out there's like 5, 6 possibilities. It's really not helpful. And I get stuck. I'm like, should I abandon ship and just move forward with the game from here? Or should I continue on with this 6 world hell I've just put myself into? So that probably doesn't happen to you now. But if you can think back to finding yourself in situations like that, what would you do? Or more importantly, how do I avoid doing that? Because it's frequent with me at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little worlds on some level makes the game, the games easier. On another level, I certainly sympathize with what you're going through. I think we start to get the idea and then we gravitate to a rule and we start splitting and it creates multiple worlds, right? And we're like, oh wait, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But the skill you're actually developing as you do this is the core skill in games, which is your ability to see what unravels, not with a perfect crystal ball, but you start to see further and further out before you do any work what is likely to happen. So it's actually through this failure that you start to realize, oh, something like that probably isn't going to help too much, right? It's precisely because you've taken a variable or taken a rule and split it, and all of a sudden it ballooned into a bunch of worlds. You're like, oh, wait a sec. Why wasn't that more constrained? And you're like, oh, well, because there wasn't a lot of constraints on that variable. And so then that you've actually, even though it feels like a failure, you've learned something about that. And then you start to get this sense, you're like, every time I go after these blocks, they tend to end up in fewer worlds. Or when I do if-then statements, or, some rule that says L has to be here or there. It's like, oh, but that's a pretty constrained rule. Let's say there's a rule that says L has to be in 1 or 2. At first glance, that might seem like a great way to start worlds because you're like, hey, I only have to create 2. But as you start to get better and better at worlds, you might think to yourself, well, what else do I know about L? Does anything else connect into L? Because if nothing else connects into L, then maybe knowing that L is in 1 and then knowing that L is in 2 actually triggers literally nothing else. So now you've just created 2 worlds that are sitting there and they aren't activating any other rules. And so then they themselves are going to have to balloon into worlds before anything can really start happening. So in some games, splitting on the basis of L being in 1 or 2 makes a lot of sense because there are other rules that tie into L. In other games, it makes no sense at all because nothing else happens. And that's what you're kind of learning to look for right before you split. You're like, okay, I'm going to split on the basis of this letter do I see the next step? And if you do, you're much less likely to end up ballooning.
Thank you. That's encouraging and helpful.
Yeah. Aaron.
Hi, first off, thanks for hosting this. I think I've listened to hundreds of podcasts at this point. So this is my first time interacting with you. So this is great. So my question is, I've gone through every single game, a lot of them multiple times.
Yep.
So what would you recommend at this point though, like doing to continue improving or at least keeping my improvements solid for games?
Well, I guess it's similar to what I was saying just a little bit ago, trying to do games a different way, just forcing yourself to do it a different way. And seeing like what happens if you split on the basis of something else. So you've done it's almost like 400 games at this point.
I haven't done 92. I think that just came out. So technically I haven't done that one.
All right. So, I probably do them as sections. You could go back and forth between drilling and sections, but sections because, it'll just expose you to the variety. Like where are you at right now? You getting like minus what?
Usually 0 or 1, but I just want to make sure that I can maintain that under like the intense like pressure of the test itself. So I'm just trying to find ways, maybe I guess targeting the most difficult games would be helpful.
It can be, but it's also possible that, really can ensure that you're getting the -0, you're finishing a couple minutes early. Now, I'm not suggesting you should rush, but maybe your improvement can come from getting faster at simpler games. So, just doing time sections and then deliberately shaking it up, right? Being like, hey, my inclination is not to do worlds here, but I am, or I definitely want to do worlds on the basis of LM, but I'm going to actually try and do it on the basis of K. It's like you might be making the game harder because maybe it's not as an obvious or ideal setup, but now you're forcing yourself to like experiment and go through with that from a different angle. That's just like more mastery, essentially. You're playing a different game, really, because it's all in the setup. Cool. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming.
Ben, you have another question.
Oh yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Hey,
Oh,
Ben. This is
hey.
Taki.
Hey, Taki.
Can you explain when you talk about variables being constrained? Like when you guys say that, I find it hard for me to understand. Is there another way that you can say that or put that phrase when talking about a variable that can only go in a certain spot? Like you mentioned, K can only go in 1 or position 1 or position 3. Are you referring to constrained variables in that sense? And is there another way to say that?
Well, so think about it this way. At the beginning of every game, you have a set of variables, right? In the games that we did tonight, we had 6 variables in each game. And when the game starts, none of those variables are constrained. They're just free to go wherever they want to go. And then as the game adds rules, some of the variables start to get pinned down. And in some games, all the rules get pinned down, or all the variables get pinned down to some degree. In other games, maybe 4 of the variables get pinned down to some degree, but 2 of them remain free. And that's the variables that we call floaters, right? So those floaters are the least constrained because no rules address them. So when I'm talking about constrained variables, I'm talking really about variables that have had rules applied to them. Some rules are stricter than others. If you have a variable that appears in 2 or more rules, well, that variable is under a lot of pressure, right? Because it's like it's being told to do one thing, then it's being told to do another thing. That's going to limit its options. So really, I'm writing down the rules, sometimes not writing them down, but I'm looking at the rules and I'm saying, okay, which variable among these variables seems to have been pinned down the most. That's where I tend to start. Cool.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to hear it in a different way, just to make it click. And the way you just described it, it just clicked.
Cool. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Thanks again, everyone. Have a good night. Happy Thanksgiving, of course, and all that good stuff.